welcome to the 9th episode of Surprisingly Even. My name is Judith, and this podcast is about knitting, which is my hobby and favorite thing to do. I live and knit in Toronto, Canada, and can be found on Ravelry as Judith and Julia. As always, I'm welcoming my returning viewers. Thank you very much for tuning in yet again. You guys are awesome, and your continuous interest and support is what keeps me going. And today, I have a very special thank you to one of you. A viewer with the username Aussie Maria mentioned my podcast on her Instagram account this week, and right after that, I had a few more new subscribers, which I'm sure has everything to do with the kind words that Maria posted. So thank you very much, Maria. I can't even express, I do not have words to express how that made me feel and what this means to me. Maria lives all the way in Sydney, Australia, which is on the other side of the world from Toronto, where I live. And it's kind of amazing how podcasting and internet helps people across the world get connected and find each other based on their common interests and what they like to do and what they care about. Maria is an avid knitter and a designer, so please check out her designs on Ravelry. Her username there is also Aussie Maria. And if you're new to this podcast, welcome to my knitting world, and please make yourselves comfortable. Before we start with the knitting content, I wanted to talk about this sweater that I'm wearing, and this is a bit of a blast from the past. The pattern is called Sibella. I can't recall the name of the designer. I'll post it later. So this is Sibella. I made it a few years ago, and if I had to, I distinctly remember that I was knitting it at the time that the first season of Penny Dreadful was on air, so that's a reference point. So a few years back. The yarn it's made of is Dandelion by Madeline Tosh. Colorway is called Opaline. And Dandelion is a very interesting yarn. It's a mix of merino linen. I made a couple of garments from Dandelion. This is one of them. I really like how it wears. There is no pilling whatsoever. It does tend, I think the linen content helps. The superwash merino keeps its shape. It's not as stretchy as I think it would have been otherwise, and I just wanted to show you how it fits. It's pretty fitted on the body, which was my preference at that point in time. I still very much like it. I think I should wear it more, but now when the colder weather arrived, I'm just going through my sweater inventory and unearthing the treasures that may have been neglected for longer than they should have. So this is one of those. What I can tell about the pattern, it's in the round. I think this one was bottom up. Yeah, I think this one was bottom up. And I did add some short rows to make it fit better in the back. I don't think they were originally part of the pattern. And other than that, I don't know what else I want to say about this. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out and how it fits and how the yarn is holding up. This has been washed a few times, and I can tell it looks as good as new. So highly recommend it if you're on the lookout for something like this. And now moving into the knitting content. So garments. In the garments, I do not have a finished object this week. I pretty much continued working on this Sunset Highway pullover that I showed as my as my work in progress on the last episode. So here it is, and I believe I was somewhere like here last time we spoke. I should really start using progress markers, but I did make quite a bit of progress on the body, and I believe that after maybe a couple of more inches, I will start on the ribbing. I don't think I'll be doing the short rows to make the back longer as the pattern is suggesting, just because I'm running kind of low on the yarn. So running a bit low on the yarn. So these skeins are the only skeins of the woolshed, which is the main color I'm using for the body. And they're kind of obviously getting smaller as I get further into the pullover. So the plot is thickening around this one, and the chances are high that I'll be playing a bit of a yarn chicken on the sleeves. So there is a limit to how much longer I can make this. my gut feel tells me in a couple of more inches I'll start the ribbing. And my usual preference is to do one knit, one purl twisted rib. This time around I think I'll do the same type of rib as written in the pattern for the neck. It's this here, which I think is three knit, one purl. I kind of like how it looks like. It's very understated, and at the same time I think should do the trick to prevent any curling at the bottom. So that's the plan. And after that, obviously sleeves. I hope to be done with it sooner rather than later, just because I can't wait to start the next project. So what else do I want to say about Sunset Highway pullover? Briefly mention the colors again in case you're new and didn't watch previous episodes. So the yarn is from Skein, Australia. This is one of their sock yarn bases. Colors are graphite, pollen, sherbet fizz, and woolshed. I'm very pleased with this color combination. Nothing else. I guess things are more straightforward now as I'm just knitting plain stockinette in the round. The only thing I have to be mindful of is alternating skeins. I also a modification that I'm doing for the pattern on the body, I want to have a bit of an A-line going on, so I'm increasing not in the side seam area, but more around like the quarter way from the side seams. So both in the front and back I'm increasing 1 stitch, so 4 stitches per round every 12 rows. So yeah, I don't expect any challenges going forward other than potential yarn shortages, which fingers crossed is gonna be fine. In terms of the future plans, as I mentioned last time, what I want to do is to knit Faith cardigan, I think comfy Fade, anyway, I forgot the exact name, out of this yarn combination, also by Skein yarn, but it's a different base. It's MCNDK Superwash Merino. I did name the colors last time, just in case, very quickly. It's Metropolis Jersey, this one is Fallow, and this one is Seaborn. Yeah, so this is the plan, unless since I ordered another color combination for the same pattern, unless that arrives first and I'll have to choose between which one to start. I guess we'll see how things go, but for now this is the plan. This was all the updates in the garments area, and now we can talk about shawls. With shawls, again, no finished object this week, sadly, but so I pretty much continued working on the Time Trades shawl by Caitlin Hunter, using exactly the same combination of colors as depicted in this photograph. And I believe this is the color combination that actually sold the pattern to me. I really fell in love with this. I did make progress last, so let me just show you how it looks like. So you start with the gradient set first, and you go, there are 5 gradient colors, so this pink one is the last color of the gradient set, and last time we spoke I was about here. So since then I started knitting with the 2 main colors and made quite a bit of progress, as you can see. I mentioned before that this color is my favorite of the set. It's a Hermione colorway by Primrose Yarns, their Adelaide base. Now looking at it, as much as I like it on its own, I'm not entirely sure I'm loving how it all fits together, because it looks a bit too green for me. Maybe I'm not adventurous enough when it comes to colors. So I must say I'm a bit on the fence with how it's turning out color wise. It still may grow on me once it's all done and washed and blocked. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that I don't think I would, looking at it now, I would necessarily put all these colors together if it was up to me. But again, maybe it's my own kind of preferences, because when it comes to color selection, I tend to be on the safe side usually, and maybe this is a bit out of my comfort zone. So I should just give it a chance. Second guessing color combination, but at least this time around I'm not second guessing my own choices, I'm second guessing somebody else's. But again, I need to sometimes trust, probably be more trusting of what other people may see as beautiful and recommend, and maybe just expand my horizons. Notwithstanding whatever I just said about my own discomfort with potential color, how it's gonna play out, I love this pattern. I think it's both feminine and modern and extremely wearable. So I'm actually looking forward to finishing this, and I'm pretty sure I'll wear it and it will grow on me, especially given that on its own this color is just gorgeous. Maybe just a bit more greener than I imagined it to be. And sometimes when you look at something in a skein, it's kind of hard to predict how it's going to turn out in the fabric, and it also greatly depends on the stitch pattern that you're knitting it with. So anyway, I'm rambling. Made great progress with this one. Love how it's turning out, my color discomfort notwithstanding. And where I am in the pattern, I finished 2 repeats of chart 2 and just only have one more chart to go, which is about 60 or 70 rows. So if stars align and everything goes as planned this weekend, I'm planning to finish it by end of day tomorrow and cast on my next project, which is I'm really excited about, because when you work on large projects, you really crave something. So when is this going to end? When do I get to work on something new? I guess craving variety, and I already know what my next project is going to be. So I mentioned that on my last podcast. So this is the yarn I'm going to use. It's Handmade in West. The color is Violetta. 70% fine kid mohair, 10% wool, 20% nylon. And this is going to be a shawl, a scarf for my sister, a really belated birthday gift. And the pattern I'm going to use is from this summer issue of Amirisu magazine, and the pattern is called Ishoni. I hope I pronounce it right. And here it is. Given that I'm going to be knitting with mohair, which is fluffing up and has quite a bit of body to it, even though it's a lace weight thin yarn, I was looking for something with quite a bit of holes in it, and I think this just fits the bill perfectly. The only thing so it's a very interesting description, because I looked at the pattern and I thought, oh, this looks like a very simple stitch pattern, and I really want something relatively mindless. Just don't feel like going into anything overly complicated, and this looks like it's going to fit the bill just perfectly. And then I'm reading the description. So the designer for this pattern is Cecilia Campocchiaro. Apparently she used the concept of and it's in quotation mark sequence knitting for this shawl design. I don't know what sequence knitting is, but I'm kind of looking forward to learning. I might as well learn something new on making this project. So it says that the repetition of a simple lace pattern creates 2 different textures of triangles like magic. Wow, what's not to like? It dresses up a simple t-shirt and denim style to protect you from chill and summer evenings. So I'm intrigued now. Having said that, I read some comments on Ravelry from other people who made this pattern that couldn't quite get a hang of this sequence knitting thing, so I'm even more intrigued now. I will probably, and so looking forward to casting this on. We'll let you know next time we talk on how this is going to go. I'm kind of hoping I'll be able to squeeze more than one shawl out of this skein, because this is at least 800 meters. And last time I made a scarf for my daughter, I had quite a bit of leftover. So I'm hoping this pattern will allow me to adjust the size so I can make 2 of these. So that's the plan. Oh, I love how this feels. Looking forward to it. So this was the update for the shawl, the present and the future. And next I wanted to talk about hats. And excitedly this week, and totally unexpectedly, I have a finished object, a finished hat to show you. So let me just show you it first, and let me see if you can recognize the yarn that I used for this hat. Can you recognize the yarn? You just saw it like 2 minutes ago. And yes, you're absolutely right if you're saying that this is the leftover of the gradient set that I used for the time trade shawl, this portion of the shawl. So I had leftovers from each of these 5 mini balls, converted those into this hat. And as you can see, I was running out of yarn towards the end of it, so had to supplement with a very pretty speckle. And this is one of the minis, at least a portion of one of the minis that my dear friend Vanessa kindly donated for my blanket that I'm making, and most of you are familiar with. If not, you'll see it in a minute. So it fits very nicely. It's like a little tiny hat with just the right amount of slouch. There is no special pattern that I used for it. It's just I cast on 120 stitches on 275mm needle, just knit and around 2x2 rib, and that started fading these colors one into each other until, you know, then the crown decreases are fairly straightforward. I divided all the stitches into 4 parts and decreased for each of these dividers. I decreased 2 stitches every other row, and yeah. So I made this hat. This is not for me. I made this hat for my dear friend Daniela. She is one of my most dedicated viewers, even though she didn't used to knit before she met me. Not for the lack of trying of other people to get her into, as I heard from her own kind of words. But now she's very much interested, and she started knitting. I'm trying to encourage this interest, and her first project she's working on is a hat as well, but because she's such a new knitter, it's taken her quite a while, which is understandable. She's getting there slowly but surely, but as I mentioned before, the weather in Toronto is getting colder and colder, and I don't want her to go without a hat until she finishes her own. So this is going to be a gift for her. She's going to get it next week, and I hope she's going to like it. And this is one of my favorite kinds of projects because it hits so many points. First of all, I got to use up leftovers that otherwise would probably could not be used for anything else. And then this project is clearly a success. And the third and the most important part is that I made this for someone I care about, and I hope they're going to like it and cherish it, and it's gonna keep her warm. So what's not to like? Actually, whenever I make something like this that you know, out of scraps, it turns out to be so beautiful, it makes me feel a bit like a superhero. Like I have this magic power to create something out of literally nothing. And it's not like, you know, I'm kind of patting myself on the back or anything like that. I'm pretty sure those of you who are knitters or creators or makers of any kind can relate to this kind of sentiment. And I'm pretty sure this is one of the main kind of reasons why we like making so much. So again, this is my project, finished project for this week. I'm gonna show you again how it fits, and I actually quite like this this idea of scrappy hats. I think I'll be making more of them. Okay, no concrete future plans for a hat, other than I think a couple of my friends from my observation could use those new hats that I have some ideas of what I want to make for various people, so maybe putting those into action. And it got really, really cold really fast in Toronto this last week. It's literally like we went from 10-15 degrees to -8, feels like -15 with wind chill. And I think it's a Canadian thing. We do realize we live in a relatively cold country. We do know winter is coming, but we prefer to be in denial. So when it's finally here, we're like, what is this? We are not ready. And yeah, so I have a few friends like that who are not ready, could use hats, and I think I will be coming to the rescue. What's next? Next on the menu, I want to talk about socks. There was some progress in the socks, and even though not a lot, I'm still working on the same pair. And the stitch pattern is from the Hermione Everyday Socks, but I'm not really using the pattern itself. I'm knitting these bottom up with the short row heel, so the only part of the pattern I'm using is this stitch pattern, which is a relatively simple combination of knits and purls. I don't know why, but lately I have really been I haven't really not been into knitting socks for some reason. Maybe because I've been so preoccupied with the bigger projects I'm working on, like the Sunset Highway pullover and the shawl. Plus I have so many other shawls that are already pressing in my queue. I don't know, socks are not really my thing, or not at the moment, because I do go through periods where all I want to knit is socks, but I guess this is not one of them. I almost did not make any progress on these until I remembered that I made a promise to you guys that on the last episode that at the very least, I'll put heels on them. I was about to start recording this episode actually today in the morning, and then I realized, shoot, I did not fulfill my promise and didn't put any heels on these socks. And I said, come on, Judith, woman up. You promised the people they'll see the heels. You should really make good on that promise. So here they are, my fish lips kiss heels, sock number 1. And sock and heel number 2. And actually, as I was knitting, I'm like, I don't know why I put these aside. This is kind of fun. So I kept going and going and going. So I'm now at the point where I finished the heels, and I finished the 1 inch of stockinette at the back of the heel, and now I'm at the point where I'm just knitting the leg patterned all around. So my plan is, or my hope or my aspiration is to finish these this week, or before I podcast next time. Maybe I should not be so overly optimistic in my commitments, but this is what I want to do, and because I do want to start the next pair, even though I don't quite know what those will be, but there's no shortage of very nice patterns in my favorites, and actually, I do know what those will be, and let me show it to you. I was going to mention this pattern as part of my treasury update, because it's included in the new issue of Pom Pom magazine that has just arrived. It contains this beautiful pattern of faded socks by no other than Andrea Mori, the Queen of Fade. So I clearly have fade on my brain because I saw these and I'm like, I really love this idea. How come I didn't think about it before myself? And combined with the fact that this is my favorite type of construction is a toe up, short toe heel socks. So what's not to like? And this is a great idea because every time I knit socks with a standard amount of sock yarn, they usually come in 100-gram balls, I always have leftovers that lately I've been putting into my blanket, but there's nothing stopping me from actually creating a pair or two of these kinds of socks. And I kind of like the fact that they're longer than usual, because winter's coming, it's already here in some parts of the world, and I could really use these, especially the fact that I love wearing skirts and around the house. Would like to avoid wearing nylons with those, and longer socks is like a perfect solution for that problem. Since I'm already talking about this magazine, I wanted to show you the other pattern that I really liked in here and will be making for sure. It's this brioche hat, 2-color, which is totally awesome. And it's by Leslie Ann Robinson, using Madeline Tosh Decay yarn. I'm pretty sure I can find stuff in my stash I could use for this hat. So definitely goes on my list. This magazine has a lot of other very beautiful patterns. There are a couple of thick sweaters that I really like. This is one of them. And the other one is this one. So it really got me thinking that maybe I really want to make a sweater out of really thick yarn, because those must be really rewarding projects to work on. They must go like fly off your needles really, really fast. One thing, and the reason I've been staying away from these kinds of patterns, is that I have limited use for thick sweaters. As cold as winters are here, most of the time we are either indoors or in the car or in heated places. And even when I'm outside, I would rather have like thinner layers under a thicker coat. Somehow makes me feel less bulky. So yeah, I like seeing those and admiring those on other people, but myself haven't quite made up my mind on whether or not I really need one. Plus because they're so bulky, they take a lot of space in the closet, and my closet is quite small. Maybe I need a bigger closet. Anyway, that's a topic for another podcast, I guess. So this was the update on socks, present and future. And now the last project, but not least, is my blanket. Did not make a lot of progress on it, just maybe 1 or 2 squares. Let me find it. Last time we spoke, I was working on this one, and this is from vampire themed mini set by Nora George. I believe this specific color was called Lucy, and I like how both bloody and delicate it is. I think this I was showing to you the wrong way. I think this is actually a perfect color to describe how I would describe Lucy's character in the book. And after that, I cast on and finished another square. So this is also from the same set by Nora George, Dracula themed. I can't remember what this particular color represented, but something Dracula related. And now I started the next one, and this is also from the same set of minis. I think this one was called Transylvania Forest, which is or Transylvania Woods. Anyway, something to do with the forest and the woods in that part of the world where Dracula is from. I'm really loving this color. Actually, I'm loving it more now when I'm working with it, much more so than when I saw it in a skein, because this is such a beautiful combination of emerald and other shades of darker and lighter greens. It's just gorgeous. Yeah, and I already know, so the next square will go here, will be attached to this yellow because I'm starting a new diagonal row, and I already know what color I'm going to use. It's going to be from the same Dracula themed set by Nora George, and the color is going to be it's kind of a darker mauve or burgundy, and it's called Mina, which is one of the main characters. I feel like reading the book again or watching the movie. How cool would it be knitting something Dracula themed and watching Dracula on television? So that's the plan. Okay, and now moving to Treasury. I have some beautiful things to share with you today in the Treasury department. So one of them I mentioned last time, and it's a yarn that I bought as part of my Canadian Thanksgiving sale at Toronto Units store. I had my eye on this particular yarn and colorway since Toronto's Knitters Frolic 2016, which is a year and a half ago, when I laid my eyes and had the experience of interacting with this yarn in one of the on one of the vendors' stall. I've been dreaming about it ever since. So I know I've built up quite the suspense. So this is Shibui Knits Staccato Base, and the color is brick. So it's not quite as bright as it's coming out on camera, and in real life it's quite a muted kind of, almost has like a vintagey feel to it, orange red, and the combination of fibers in this yarn is 70% superwash merino and 30% silk. It's a very light finger in weight, quite tightly twisted. I predict it has excellent stitch definition. And the project I had in mind when I bought this yarn was a Scala shawl. I believe it's called Scala, from I believe it's by Melanie Berg, and it's from the latest Woolfolk collection. I already have the pattern, and I thought this would make a beautiful shawl, but now I'm looking at it. I definitely have a garment quantity of this. I got 7 skeins, and it's 191 yards or 175 meters per skein, so it's more than enough to make a garment. So I'm kind of flip-flopping every day on whether or not I should go ahead and make a shawl, which given the silk content would make perfect sense, because it will be very drapey, and I think the thickness of it is just perfect for that pattern. Or should I make like a nice flowy kind of light pullover? I don't know, I haven't made up my mind quite yet. Good thing is that I have no shortage of other projects to work on in the meanwhile to keep me busy, and I'm sure the right idea for this yarn will come to me in time when I want to start or cast this. So this is one of the my precious stash enhancements, and the other one came from Nora George. I ordered a while ago as part of her literary characters series. In November she did To Kill a Mockingbird. So I ordered this full skein of sock yarn named after one of the characters in the book, and it was Boo Radley, and here it is. Isn't this gorgeous? It's just beautiful. All my favorite colors. Again, I'm very fond of yellow lately. Probably craving some sunshine. Need a vacation. So I ordered a full skein and also ordered the To Kill a Mockingbird mini set. And I apologize for all the crinkling. I don't want to take it out of its package just because I don't want to lose the sight of what these beautiful colors are called. And I'm going to tell you from the left. This is Scout. This one is Atticus. The third one is On Trial. The fourth one is Gem. And the last one is the Courthouse. I'm loving these colors. So again, haven't quite made up my mind what to do with them. Again, with the introduction of the fading technique, I think the possibilities are endless. These could end up being the hat, or the socks, or these part of the socks, or they can go into the blanket. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm loving every single one of these colors. Just can't wait to work with them. And I really like Nora George's these kinds of literary surprise clubs. It's a really great way for me, at least, to satisfy my yarn buying craving without breaking the bank. So this way, I'm happy. I have something new and gorgeous to kind of work with, or own. My bank account is happier than it could have been otherwise. Now, what to do with this? It's obviously too beautiful to be socks on its own like this. I just put it next to the other two Nora George skeins that I bought in the past. So this one was Mr. Knightley from her earlier installment of the club, and this one is Fleckle. And I just realized how well these three go together. So I believe they could make a really nice fade sweater, like a pullover. I just need a fourth color to go with it, because the last one, the fade sweater I made, even though the pattern called for 5 colors, I made it with 4, and I even had leftovers. So I do have some options for that. So this is a skein of Baron wool sock yarn I got, which could be a candidate for that. Another option could be this one. So yeah, so this is an idea that I have to make another fade pullover with the combination of these and addition of something else. I did order another surprise colorway from Nora George this week, and I'm expecting to get it sometime in December. It's a Christmas themed set of minis. I believe there are 2 options there. There's a traditional Christmas and modern Christmas. So I ordered the modern Christmas, kind of curious to see how it looks like, and also ordered a full skein of another surprise color, also Christmas themed. So yeah, this was exciting, and I think this kind of concludes the content that I wanted to cover today. So as always, I wanted to wish you happy knitting, or whatever it is that you're enjoying to do. Winter is coming, it's already here, so we should start and knit faster to keep ourselves and our loved ones warm. Not to mention the holiday season coming up, keeping up with all the gift requests. I mean, good luck to me. And thank you very much for tuning in again, and I hope to talk to you again soon.